Do well to stay tuned till 9:45 for Global View, where we'll be discussing further on that particular story. However, we're going to be looking through major trending stories on the front pages of our dailies, and we have our papers here with us: The Guardian, New Telegraph, Vanguard, and the Punch newspaper. We'll be looking through them from now till 8:30, and then we'll take a short break, and by 8:40 we're back for Mainland Focus, where you, our dear listener, gets to be part of the conversation. My name is Omobola Sandra. Today is Monday, the 9th of October, 2023. And before we go on to the stories trending for today, it's our tradition to look through the major trending stories from over the weekend. Try to bring you up to speed, give you updates as regards major stories from Saturday and Sunday. Presidency explains why Tinubu's certificate carries female identity, and that was taken from Independent newspaper. Certificate saga. Presidency says Atiku, desperate as ex-VP, submits Tinubu's Chicago versus the record. Certificate. Atiku applies to file fresh evidence against Tinubu at Supreme Court. Governor battles. PDP victorious in 11 states. APC, Labour Party get 10 and 1. Federal government suspends 𝗪𝗏, begins investigation. Federal government still paying subsidy for petrol, and that's coming from Pengasan. And also we have Ondo. APC halts impeachment of Akeredolu's deputy, begins reconciliation. Those were the major stories from Saturday. And from Sunday we had Mohbad death. No evidence of Naira Marley's involvement, council says. Power generation drops by 2,324 megawatts. That's coming from the federal government. Bayelsa, November 11 gubernatorial. Governor Diri accuses Silva of plot to cause mayhem. Tinubu to controversially appoint ex-secretary as EFCC chairman. Tinubu outlines his government's plan for Nigerian universities. Bauchi government to pay female students to attend schools. Those were the major trending stories from Saturday and Sunday, and it was aptly compiled by Kelvin Onwafili. So let's move on to the major stories that we have for this morning. I won't be doing this alone, of course. I'll be having Fuhad Sahid joining in via the phone line to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. And you are very much welcome on board. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Now, we'll start with the Guardian newspaper this morning, whilst we try to connect with Fuad. Please don't forget we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Yes, we're live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can join the program live on those channels at Mainland 98.3 FM. And you can as well drop your comments in the live chat section. If you have any comments as regards the stories that we're treating, I'll be taking them during Mainland Focus. Good morning, Fuad.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I don't know. I've been watching videos, from Israel and Gaza for almost all through the night, and it's just been a little bit disturbing.
Well, very disturbing. I've also been following that particular event. I think, if you ask me, I think there's a problem with humanity globally. That respect for human life, that value, that ultimate value that we should place on human life is no longer there. And it's not just this particular one. I think globally there's a problem with the way people value human life. No matter the side of the divide you want to pitch your tent with on this particular matter, I just think what we've lost is humanity.
Thank you very much, Fuad, because I still don't try to understand whatever could be going on between Palestine and Israel, or Palestine and Israel, whatever it is. People are gathered somewhere, they're having a party or whatnot, and then people just come in and just start shooting and taking people captive, and it's I really don't know. I know yesterday on Political Roundtable, when you said your son asked you what exactly is the problem with you, and I also tried to dig deep. What exactly is going on? Has to do with land or no land? But really, at this point now, I think it's just way beyond that.
No, what we have now, Sandra, is just a symptom. The real disease is there, and the problem is that nobody really wants to take care of the fundamentals of the major problem leading to all of this. This whole crisis did not just start. What we saw started on Saturday had been long time coming. Sandra, if you understand what I'm saying. You know, it's a lot of history to this. And like you rightly just said, when my son sat beside me and said, "Oh, why are they fighting themselves?" I said, well, the crisis. Honestly, I didn't know what to tell him. Because, you know, if you ask the ordinary person out there, the first thing that comes to their mind anytime they hear Israel-Palestine war is that it's a religious war. Oh, it's most likely Muslims and Christians fighting. That's the, you know,
that's the first thoughts come to your mind.
That's the first thought that comes to your mind. But, you know, it's not a religious war. Yeah, are there religious colorations to it? Yes. Is it a religious war? No. It's a bigger thing, really. And I think people need to understand that, you know, about now is a long time coming. There are religious angles to it, there are international angles to it, there are global angles to it, but ultimately it's about, you know, who controls what in a geographical location. That's the major thing.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'm sure we'll get more, you know, we'll get into it deeper by Global View by 9:45.
I think the papers also have one or two things on it, so we may just maybe touch on it again if the papers have stories around.
All right, let's take the major headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. War in Middle East may spiral and push monthly petrol subsidy to 644.8 billion naira. So this is an oil-producing region for HAD. There's been conversation as regards, you know, the effects that it will have on, the effect that it will have, you know, globally now, the effect that this war would have globally. So if the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine escalates further, setting off a chain reaction, and Nigeria is yet to recover from some economic crisis following the Russia invasion of Ukraine, we may have to deal with another energy crisis as it is now.
Of course, most likely. Any global crisis always has this effect. And when we say global crisis, you know, there are wars that come with some proxy implications. You know, anytime you hear Israel and Palestine having this kind of conflict, it's beyond that geographical space. In this conversation, you have Iran. In this conversation, you also have Russia. In this conversation, you have the U.S. In the West also standing on one side. You have Egypt. You have Qatar. You have Saudi Arabia also in this particular conversation. Like you rightly pointed out, that entire region is an oil-producing region, and any destruction that comes in this manner, because most likely what you are going to have is that you have countries pitching tents. As it is now, some fingers are being pointed towards Iran from the U.S. Because, again, they know that Hamas is closely linked with the Iranian government. Saudi Arabia has been a bit quiet, trying to keep safe away from the conversation so far. So whether we like it or not, this will cause global disruptions, and most likely the oil sector will be affected. The implications is that we will have a situation where the crude oil prices will also go up, most likely. And if that happens, back home we would have to also feel the effect. We're already feeling the effect of the Russia-Ukraine war. The reason why crude is selling at almost $95 per barrel, close to $100 per barrel. If this war persists, which most likely would, because this is a different one, Sandra. I was listening to the spokesperson of the Israeli Defense Force this morning before leaving the house. And he said that, look, not in the history of Israel have they witnessed anything like this. Not in their entire history, apart from the era of Holocaust, when Jews were being slaughtered all over the world. But as a country, this is the first time they are having an invasion that has led to the loss of Israelis in this manner. As we speak, over 700 Israelis are being killed by Hamas militants. And apart from the ones that are killed in Israel, quite a number of people have now been held hostage, taken from Israel into Gaza Street, and are being held hostage by the Hamas fighters. So it's a long war. It's not a war that will end anytime soon. Israel is promising. If you listen to Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, Prime Minister of Israel, what he's simply telling Palestinians living in Gaza is that they should leave because they want to level that entire city. And if you understand what that means, it's a war that will not end anytime soon. The Hamas guys are still talking tough. After this morning, they were still firing rockets from the Gaza Strip into Israel. And, so it's a very long war that my fear is that it could escalate beyond that particular region. if you understand the nature of the conflict between Israel and Palestine, and if that happens, the oil sector will be affected. Our crude oil prices would most likely jump up again. And because we are a country that has not been serious about understanding that, look, we have to take care of ourselves as an oil-producing nation by having functional refineries, would have to also suffer the effect of rising crude oil prices. So it's spot on that, we may have to feel the effect of this particular war, even though it is not in our continent or in our territory.
Yes, of course, this report is giving us that with low oil production, inflation, dollar scarcity is to worsen. We're also looking at states and federal government may have to borrow more as they are struggling with budget implementation. And we also have government may be forced to increase petrol price at this point now. Because helping to, although Nigeria, according to this report now, it says although Nigeria had increased its crude oil output by about 110,000 barrels per day, helping to stabilize the global oil market and pushing OPEC output to about 27.73 million. But then analysts are projecting that the ongoing war might disrupt supplies in the Middle East if other countries join. And this development will throw the market into turmoil from today. And as it is now, President Tinubu's administration, while they return subsidy payment or not, on using NNPCL to manage the situation through its access to dollars from crude oil and all of that, the subsidy on petrol now stands about 400 naira per litre. And we are going to look at, the many millions and millions of barrels recorded and, the expectations and all of that. We're looking at about 644.8 billion naira from the federal government on fuel subsidy.
You see, Sandra, when you see me get annoyed with people that try to downplay the importance of having functional refineries, these are some of the reasons. Again, if you listen to Adeola Yusufa, our energy expert, when he was explaining the reason for building our 4 refineries, what our leaders had thought at that time to build those 4 refineries, it's for days like this. It is for moments like this. Because the idea of having functional refineries as an oil-producing nation is to save yourself from the effect of global crisis of this nature. So what happens is that all you need to do, your 4 refineries can refine a crude oil capacity of 445,000 barrels per day. I'm sure that will run into millions of liters of PMS, diesel and other related products. So all you need to do is that, look, from your own quota, even not from your own quota, just make sure that on a daily basis, you are able to supply those local refineries with 445,000 barrels of crude oil at your own price, because it is your product. And because again, people need to understand that having a functional refinery as an oil-producing nation is different from a country that has a refinery as a business without being an oil-producing nation. So the opportunity is there because the crude oil belongs to you. So on this day, all you need to do is to save yourself from one of the global crises in terms of forex, in terms of crude oil output or no output and all of that, and then you can refine to take care of your local peculiarity. And that is why it is unfortunate that, look, government after government, we've not seen any clear intention to fix our refineries. Not even from this government that has not even said anything about it.
Hello?
Yes, I'm with you, Sandra.
All right. Well, more details of that on pages 6 and 26 of the Guardian newspaper. There's no how anything that's happening anywhere in the world, there's no how, we won't feel its impact one way or the other. But you can get more details on pages 6 and 26 as regards how the war in the Middle East is going to spiral and push a whole lot of things on the already strained economy that is struggling to survive in the country. All right, moving on now, we also have here Atiku Keyamo trade wars over Tinubu's Chicago certificate. And that is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. All through the weekend, this was the major trending story. Everybody was talking about the certificates, issue. And of course, if you missed Political Roundtable yesterday, do well to just, move over to our YouTube channel to get the video. It was quite an interesting one. So the controversy over President Bola Tinubu's Chicago State University certificate reached a crescendo last week following the deposition of the president's academic records, where Atiku Abubakar accused President Tinubu of twisting the deposition made by CS Quadri, adding that until